And I'll take a Viking scratch game, too. Can I get it bagged?
You mean sacked? Whoa! Cool. Yeah! All right. Who wants some? Get pumped. They're back. So is your chance at $100,000.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. I'm Eric Nordquist, producer, Nordo from 9 to noon. Joining me, a member of the Vikings Radio Entertainment Network, member of the Power Trip. He's on 9 to noon. He joins Common once a year. He does everything. It's Ben Leber. How you doing, man? I'm
doing great, Nordo. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. It's good to see you. You'll be in studio with us tomorrow, which I'm excited about. So save some of your best stuff for 10 a.m. tomorrow. Nah, don't do it.
Nope, not going to do it. I'm just going to lay it out all on the line right now.
No, I love it.
I'm going to have nothing for you tomorrow.
No, that's all good. You know how we roll. We'll make it up as we go regardless. But hey, all thanks to Minnesota Lottery. Get pumped. It's game time. It's game time for the Minnesota Vikings. All thanks to Minnesota Lottery for bringing you a Wednesday night stream, looking back at the first week of training camp. And anybody watching this now, you have the opportunity not only to participate via the social channels, you'll ask questions, and Ben Leber, the expert of the two of us, will give you his best answers. And using the hashtag KFANVikes, KFANVikes for the kids, you have an opportunity to win a prize pack from the Minnesota Lottery, which features $50 in scratch-offs, Viking scratch-offs, a Vikings mug, a Vikings t-shirt, and more. So again, and that winner is going to be chosen by the end of the stream in about 30 minutes. So get that hashtag KFANVikes out on Twitter now, and we'll choose a winner very soon. So looking forward to your comments, questions, concerns, all of those things. But I want to start out this way with you, Ben. Do you consider yourself an optimist?
Sure, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm listening everywhere and hearing everything at all times. And via Zach Gelb, CBS Sports Radio, okay, we love Zach. God bless him.
Yep.
You said that the Vikings were going to go 11-6, win the NFC North, and get themselves into the postseason. Explain yourself.
I am an optimist when it comes to that because, look, they got competitive at points last year, and they had a terrible defense. Terrible. So my best assumption is the offense will remain on track. It'll be, let's say, a top 8 offense in the league. And then I have to think that the defense is going to be exponentially better. So if the defense is even near the top 10, they don't have to crack the top 10, just be close to the top 10. No doubt in my mind, obviously, with solid special teams. This is a highly competitive team that's going to score a ton of points. And we're going to win a lot of football games. So, yeah, man, I'm optimistic.
I love that about you. And looking at the first week of training camp, an opportunity now, not only, just as from a Rube standpoint, seeing fans in the stands again, right? But whether it was Monday, you got to be there as part of the simulcast in the afternoon. So you're chatting with PA and Pete. I saw an interview you did. I don't even know if it made it on television, but you got the chance to chat with Zim after the practice. But as we're 5-6 days into this thing now, what are your thoughts as you see the pads come on and you see some of this coming together?
Well, not much that we didn't already know when it comes to our weapons. Dalvin looks good. Both of our number 1 and number 2 receivers look outstanding. Justin Jefferson is poised to have a huge year. Thielen's making awesome catches again. It doesn't matter who they're lining up against. It seems like they're winning those one-on-one battles. We have yet really to see the totality of the offensive line with Darisaw in there, with Wyatt Davis in there. Now that the pads are on and those guys are kind of working back in, I imagine we're going to get a lot of good work in the next few days. The defensive line, again, only one padded practice, not much to really look at there. So we'll have to see how the defensive line plays against the run. But, Anthony Barr looks motivated. He looks good. Nick Vigil, who was a free agent pickup that has gotten zero attention, but he just needs to be somewhat solid in pass coverage, and he's going to make this linebacker core even better. We know what Kendricks is. And so far with Patrick Peterson out on the outside and all the other pieces, it looks like a good, solid athletic secondary. So I like what we've seen so far in camp. We have yet to see really a kicking battle. That's going to be interesting as a preseason picks up. That's going to be key to our success this year. And I know everybody is kind of bored of, and they get bored of talking about kicking game because it's not super sexy. It's not like we're talking about a battle for quarterback. But as we've seen almost every year with the Vikings, the kicking game matters. And getting that damn ball through the uprights, whether it's just through an extra point or a field goal, has made differences in the games.
Absolutely. And questions, an opportunity for you to comment if you're watching this. Thanks again to Minnesota Lottery. Get pumped. It's game time. How about this one from Zach? With the QBs getting COVID, is the backup job Browning's to lose? Thanks, Zach. And really, you think about just the first week of training camp and the things that you've keyed into. And it was something we talked about 9 to noon, where we know what the A topic is and the stories have been written. But it's like there's some other stuff that's kind of going around. There are some things that are going right at training camp. But with the quarterbacks in particular, before 8 returns to the mix tomorrow, I think Jake Browning, the undrafted kid with the shoulder injury, a lot of promise out of Washington, I think he has taken advantage of those extra reps.
Yeah, I think he really has to. And, you know, the whole staff and the management wanted to see him and how he stepped up to the plate. And it could go, obviously, one of two ways. Either he could S the bed and they feel like they don't have a guy that can stand the pressure, or they see a guy that can handle the pressure. And, you know, he played 4 years in the Pac-12, you know, as a starting quarterback of a big program, and played a lot of big-time games. So you wanted to see that translate. Now I know that, you know, starting a game in the Pac-12 versus a Saturday night practice is not exactly the same thing, but, you know, there is a lot more pressure. Things happen faster. You have to make decisions a little bit faster. Your accuracy has to be on point, and you have to gel with those guys out there when you don't get a lot of reps as a one. And it sounds like, even from Rick Spielman, that he more than exceeded their expectations. So if you're looking for somebody as a number 2 that has some grit and is going to take care of the football and make the right decisions, he absolutely elevated himself. And now I don't think that when camp is over, he's going to be the number 2, but I definitely think he's going to be a guy that they're going to need to protect, because if Kellen Mond is not necessarily the guy in the first half of the season and they don't feel like that he's mentally up to the battle, then you got to have a guy like that, and you got to protect him. So, yeah, he did a lot to elevate his status for sure.
And actually, it kind of plays into the 53-man roster if you think about it with final cuts and things, where you're not going to put Kellen Mond on the practice squad. If Jake Browning does continue to elevate and create a reason for him to be here and to be productive in a bad spot for the starter, which we can talk about later on in the stream, you may have to keep 3 quarterbacks, which then kind of plays into how you're projecting other aspects of the team.
Yeah, and I think that absolutely could be the case, especially early on when you could carry 3. You know, one of them could be an inactive player on game day, and you're going to have to make some adjustments. And a lot of that's just going to be determined by who makes it out of the camp healthy and which groups don't. You know, if we're really thin at offensive line, and we've seen what happens when we have a thin offensive line, if they don't go into those games with a heavy roster of offensive linemen, that could come back and bite us. And you could make the same argument for the defensive line and the corners as well. So if everybody comes out of camp pretty healthy and they feel like they've got a solid depth at all those key positions, then absolutely I could see keeping 3 quarterbacks.
I'm going to get to more you that are watching this. Thanks again, and thanks to Minnesota Lottery. And again, use the hashtag KFANVikes. We're going to be giving away a Minnesota Lottery prize pack at the conclusion of this thing. So stay tuned for that. And I'm going to get to more of your questions momentarily. But going down this line, you know, when I think about the time that Kirk has now missed, and he's going to return to the mix tomorrow, do you find with Kubiak and such through this first week, is the offense set back at all? Are they behind? How do you look at it with Browning getting all of those reps instead of Kirk?
No, I don't think that they're behind at all. At this point in camp, they're probably where they were when they left off the offseason when it comes to a true playbook install. So, and even if they were past that point of installation, Kirk knows this offense, and I know that Clint's going to have his own twist on things. I know that his playbook's going to be different than the years past, but by and large, it's the same offense. It's just going to be a different philosophical approach about which defenses, what to do in certain checks and situations. So I guess you could maybe make the argument they're slightly behind, but I think it's kind of a moot point. I don't think that having Kirk gone for the last couple of days is really going to hinder this offense and where it was going, and I think they're pretty much on schedule.
Now with new offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, it was kind of, and it was just a significant talker in some respects, just given the baton being handed off from father to son. And then you have, and it sounds like maybe they've tried to mitigate the effect of this, but Rick Dennison now in more of a virtual capacity, all of those things. But when I look at it, Kirk and Clint, I feel like it's more Clint's job at this stage of his position to accommodate and acquiesce to what Kirk needs versus Kirk accommodating and acquiescing to what the OC, voice in the head, all of those things. I think this is Kirk's offense, and I think that he needs to be the one that decides how a lot of this works. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think that you're right on. I mean, you're spot on with that. We talk about coaches adapting to the players and not so much the players adapting to the coaches. And I know that there is some sort of Venn diagram where they both have to meet in the middle, but Kirk kind of is what he is. We saw him get better last year when it comes to breaking the pocket and improvising, and I think that he's going to continue to do that. But I think we kind of know the skill set of what Kirk is. And now it's a matter of just making him comfortable in the pocket to where he's not getting direct pressure up front, where he gains confidence in this offensive line. And then just finding plays within Clint's new offense. All right, Kirk, what do you like? What sort of plays did you like out of the new wrinkles? What didn't you like from last year? How can we make you the most comfortable and make you play as fast as possible? So I think it's going to be more on Clint to kind of figure out what Kirk does best versus the other way around.
Absolutely. Another question coming in here from Facebook. Here's Mike. I want DJ Wanham to win the other D end spot. Is he on track to win that starting spot, or is there someone else making a push? We know what's on one side of that defensive line, but what's on the other? I mean, that is one hell of a horse race into the end of training camp and week 1 against Cincinnati.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. After watching practice the other day, it seems like they like Wanham's versatility, and we saw a little bit of that last year where they went sort of this odd 3-man front and had Wanham as the roving joker player and the extra player in a stand-up linebacker position. He was the flex player. I saw a little bit of that in practice as well, and that was even on first and second down. They were in a situation where they were not doing third downs; they're just doing first and 10 and second medium, and those are typically not 3-down odd man front spots. The 3-down odd man front is normally a true passing situation. And it looked like to me, now, it's limited distance in what I can see. Couldn't make out all the details, but it looked like to me he was playing a true linebacker spot. He was not moving around like we see a lot of these joker type players, and he didn't just like run up to the edge of the line of scrimmage and land up in a 2-point stance and rush off the edge. He was playing linebacker. So I do think that in certain situations they may have him play linebacker to just be a bigger guy in there to stop the run and give you that versatility of maybe putting your hand on the ground on the outside. So already early in camp, it seems like they love his versatility. They like what he can do. Is he going to be the number one, first and second down starter? Maybe. I mean, we'll see. I think it's going to come down to who's the best run stopper of the guys out there, whether it's rookie Patrick Jones or Weatherly wins the spot. I think you have to find the 4 most stout run stoppers on first and second down, and then start throwing in all your wrinkles and special pass rushers after that.
I'm glad you mentioned Wanham's versatility, and I believe it was Courtney Cronin that asked DJ about this during a presser. And he mentioned, I believe they played 3-4 in college, South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Is that yeah, that's where he went to school. So the idea in that 3-4 as an outside linebacker, kind of the responsibilities and roles that he had, his ability then maybe to get guidance from the Anthony Barrs and just kind of working in some of that versatility. Now, during that same presser, he was asked about having Daniil back. And it's kind of the, it's the classic, like the veteran teaching the kids, right? It's just, Kirk's just going to sit down, pat Kellen Mond on the head and say, here's everything that I know and everything that I do. Maybe that's how it works. Maybe it's how it's not. But in terms of DJ Wanham, the two rookies, Janarius Robinson, Patrick Jones, Weatherly, anybody, what do you think they can learn, even if by observation, and having 99 back in the mix?
Well, I think they really have to pick his brain on all of his pre-snap stuff. So
can they
much
get him to
of
talk ever, though?
No. I think I'm sure internally he talked, but no, not so much. There's a lot you can learn just from a pre-snap mentality. What you're looking at. How can you diagnose down distance, game situation versus what the tackles, their look is, what the split looks like. And it's not just the offensive tackle. You got to look down the line. How is the guard sitting? How close are their splits? How wide are their splits? Where's the weight at? What's the offensive formation? A lot of defensive ends don't pay attention to the offensive formation when it comes to wide receivers. And that's to their detriment, because those guys, if you just take a quick peek before you get in your 3-point stance, can tell you a lot of what to expect. So I think a lot of those things about, picking the brain is all going to happen kind of pre-snap, because I got to tell you, man, even if Daniil says, well, you know what, when I do my chop rip move, I like to do it this way. It's just not going to be the same. He's a special, freaky athlete that probably can get away with things technically that other guys can't. Now, DJ's built a little bit like him. He's got longer arms and longer levers, and that's the whole reason why they drafted him in the first place. They said, we're kind of looking for these prototype guys that we want to compare to Daniil. But he's still not Daniil. Daniil's an absolute monster. And I'm going to guess that even Daniil probably doesn't even understand how he does the things that he does. I've asked, some great players, whether they're linebackers or other defensive players, like, hey, how do you do that? What did you see there? And a lot of times they're like, I don't know. I just reacted. The instincts. I just kind of used instincts. And I think that a lot of what Daniil does is just instincts, and it's hard to teach.
Absolutely. Now, with these fat guys in the middle, we had Michael Pierce on 9 to noon today. By the way, he kicks ass. Awesome dude. So glad he's on the team and he's with us.
Yeah.
But the combo of Pierce and Dalvin Tomlinson, rush defense, taking doubles, helping out, clearing space for the linebackers and all of that. How does he, or that tandem, Sheldon Richardson in the mix too, actually maybe help a Daniil Hunter or a DJ Wanham and rushing the passer as well?
Well, it is about, extra players. The offensive lineman has 5 guys to block 4 down linemen. Now, you have responsibilities when it comes to who's going to pick up an overhang player, who's got to pick up a blitzer or a stunter and all that. But, by and large, they've got 1 extra guy to block a 4-man rush. So, when you have a guy like Daniil, there's going to be extra special attention to his side of the field and where he's at as a left defensive end. But if you get 2 big behemoth guys in the middle, maybe your double teams can't be on as long. Maybe your attention, has to go outside a little bit more, and you instead of using a 2-hand punch, maybe it's just a one-handed stab, and then you get to work out to the outside. And so I think, they all kind of work together. If Daniil's having a hell of a game, then those guys on the inside better start eating, because they're going to get singled up a lot of times in one-on-ones. Now, if those guys are feasting on the inside and they can't block them and they need to have 4 hands on those guys at all times, then the guys on the outside better have a good day. So it does all play off of each other. And I'm excited just to see, what Pearson and Dalvin can do, because that was the weakest link of the whole defense. And you saw what happens in that with the pass defense when it's, third and 3 versus 3rd and 7.
Yeah, and speaking of getting excited as the weakest part of the defense gets strong, the weakest part of the spirit, I think in some ways for this team and Vikings fans alike, empty buildings. So Tom asks, how will the fans help the defense? Tell me about it, Leber.
Well, I don't think that we have to go back very far. First game of the season against Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers is like, man, that was the best situation to operate our offense in. I could talk to my players. I'd have to yell and scream. We didn't have any miscommunications. We didn't have to use nonverbal hand signals. They could operate like they were just operating in a walkthrough. And I think it was more than that they carved up this defense in the first game of the season. But, to have a comfortable quarterback back there on your home field, that's never a good situation. All these guys are skilled quarterbacks. They can make a lot of throws. And when they're in a controlled environment, they're just going to go out there and start throwing dimes. So, the crowd is going to be hugely important. And that's why I'm hoping, mask or no mask, pull that sucker down if they're mandating masks on 3rd down and get loud and get crazy.
Absolutely. 9 or 10 minutes left with you here, Ben Leber, and it's all thanks, by the way, Minnesota Lottery. Get pumped. It's game time. It's almost Saturday scrimmage time this Saturday around noon. You can get to Vikings.com, figure out how you can get in the building and watch a scrimmage/practice at the bank. And then just a week and change away, the Denver Broncos are in town. Joint practices a week from now, and a Saturday afternoon or a 3 p.m. kickoff, the first preseason game. It doesn't count, but it matters. And hashtag KFAN Vikes, we are giving away a Minnesota Lottery prize pack. I do want to hit you with this question because I think it's really important, and it's from Aaron. Should we be worried about the offensive line with our rookies struggling to get on the field? So think about our rookie class, by the way, and thank you, Aaron, for the question. Rookie class, Christian Darrisaw. His first practice, I think, was today. Wyatt Davis missed some time, sounded like there was an ankle wrap. Not only has he been on the second team in almost every aspect, but he's been playing center, he's been playing guard, still trying to find the right spot for him. Kellen Mond's got the bug. I mean, what's Amir Smith-Marset up to? Like he's doing, you know what I mean? I mean, this is crazy with our rookie class. So in particular with the offensive line, though, this is, I need to see reps from those kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. I want to see those guys get reps. And I want to see those guys in even just one-on-ones. It's important for those guys to go against a very talented defensive front, even on one-on-ones, just to get a barometer of where they are with their pass sets and their hands and their technique. And they're missing out on all that. And then you couple that and you multiply that by not being around and not being in a team setting, not getting the commands from the quarterback, not working in sync, not having that communication on the line right during a play in the pre-snap stuff, identifying defensive guys, where are we going to slide the front, who's got the turn back, who's responsible for this blitzer. All of those things need to be repped over and over and over. And when they're not in the lineup, even though it's kind of early, it can be a hindrance. Now, going back to the optimism thing, we only have 3 preseason games, but the preseason's still the same length of time. They did not, accelerate the start of the regular season. So we do still have time between now and the first regular season game. So that's a plus. They're just not going to get as much real-time work. And let's just hope that both of these guys are 100% when Denver comes into town for the joint practices, because that's going to be really telling to see where they're at right now.
Now, with all of that said, them missing out on time has kind of been similarly with the quarterbacks and Jake Browning. Suddenly, Oli Udoh is the greatest swing offensive lineman in the history of Vikings football. He's getting all the reps at guard. He's sitting in at left tackle with the first team, like Oli Udoh, the kid from Elon.
Yeah, I'm super happy for him because, I remember we were doing a hit in one of the games last year, and I just kind of made the comment that I really want to see him develop and progress because he's sort of a blank slate. He's a little bit like Babatunde Ayegbusi, if we can all remember that name. He didn't play a lot of football in high school. He's kind of a late bloomer, new to the game, under recruited, goes to Elon, and had to learn how to be physical. He was gifted with this gigantic body, and he was, I believe, more of a basketball player. So he has some nice feet, and you can see that. And I just want to see all of that kind of be put together with his good footwork, his solid footwork. He's just got to work on his hand punch. And if he works in at guard, a mammoth guard, and we better not have any inside penetration wherever he's at, because just by him sticking his arms out and just getting in the way, there's no way you're going to be able to push that guy around and get around him in a fast manner to get to the quarterback.
Absolutely. Now, watching Clint Kubiak's presser, a lot of it, again, kind of dictated by the COVID situation, praising what's Jake Browning doing, all of this. But there were some good nuggets, and he snuck one in there about how excited he is concerning the growth of Garrett Bradbury. So the size of an Ole Udoh, as daunting and as ominous as he would look on the interior, you don't use the words daunting and ominous as it pertains to the physical stature of Garrett Bradbury, although he's bigger than me. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But when you see, when the Michael Pierces of the world are bearing down, size has been an issue. And so over the course of a season, whether it's wearing down or some just individual matchups at times where he's going to be on the wrong side of it, Kubiak spoke to some serious improvements in growth in terms of Garrett's game, and maybe just getting smarter about using his other qualities to kind of compensate for that.
Yeah, and that just comes with game experience. And I think people do forget, and sometimes even I forget that these guys are young when they get into the NFL, and even though they are grown men and they're bigger than the average human, they still have strength and development and coordination to learn and grow into. And given his background, he's got great lower body strength. He is obviously athletic enough. He's quick enough. Now he just needs to put it all together and play smart and figure out, all right, well, now I can get more technical about where I punch my hands on this guy. When I've got this block, then I'm expecting this. It's not a matter of just shooting your hands out and getting your hands knocked down. Now you can be more strategic and get more precise with where your hand placement is, and that way you can use your hips and drop your hips better, use that lower body strength that he has. He's a very strong guy for being just a touch over 300 pounds, and 300 pounds sounds enormous, but not so much in the NFL. So I am excited to see his growth and what he can do just from a man's strength standpoint. He's a man now. He's not just a young or an older college guy.
Absolutely. Last thing for you, and again, just loving this breakdown in terms of looking at the first week of training camp, and I appreciate you giving me some time on a Wednesday night. I just look at it like this. Ryan Ficken, is there a tougher job on this team than completely reorganizing one of the worst special teams units we've seen in Minnesota, maybe in decades?
I tell you what, he has a couple things that he's just got to work on, and I think that he gets it. I've been around Fick a lot, and he's like a student of the game. I mean, he's seen it all, and I think he knows exactly what makes a good special teams unit. It's going to be, on punt team, it's going to be the gunners. He's got to go out and find the very best guys that can get off a press and just be absolute maniacs getting down to that punt to cover that thing. We've seen time and time again, sometimes it just takes one or two guys to beat the defenders on the outside, and that breaks up the whole punt return. You get a fair catch, or you get a tackle right there where they catch the ball just by one or two guys doing their job and being maniacal. So he's got to find two absolute dogs on the outside, and conversely, when you have punt returns, you got to find two guys that can hold those guys up and give the punt returner a chance, and then obviously find a punt returner. If he can do those three things, along with the kicking thing, kind of takes care of itself. There's not a lot of special teams coordinators that understand kicking mechanics, which is why they brought in Nate Kading a couple years ago. A lot of teams are utilizing these kicking game specialists and these kicker specialists that are former kickers to come in and really just work on the side with these guys and figure out that swing and the mechanics and the mentality. I think that Ryan is probably like a lot of special teams coordinators where he doesn't totally get the mechanics of kicking. So he needs to focus on all the other things that he can control. And, if he focuses on those 3 areas that I just talked about, finding those dogs on the outside and finding a punt returner that can make people miss, we'll be all right.
I love it, man. Thanks again. Hang tight for just a moment because, as I said, thanks to the Minnesota Lottery, get pumped. It's game time. I have a winner for you. Using the hashtag KFANVikes, you are the winner of a Minnesota Lottery prize pack featuring $50 in Vikings scratch-offs, a Vikings mug, a Vikings shirt, and so much more. This gentleman's name, Chris Dawson. Chris Dawson at CHDawson77 via Twitter. You'll be contacted by our promotions magnet. His name is Ryan Donaldson. He's going to get in touch with you, hook you up with the prize pack. Thanks to everybody for watching this evening. Again, the Minnesota Lottery bringing you training camp previews, preseason previews, updates, and commentary. And it was Ben Leber tonight, which kicks ass at Nacho Leber. He's going to be in studio with us 9 to noon tomorrow at 10 a.m. So tune in for that as well. Completely new content. There's no doubt about that. And a week from now, I believe next Wednesday, Pete Bursich, also a member of Vikings Radio Network, side-by-side shotgun with PA. He'll be with me next Wednesday. So again, thank you to the Minnesota Lottery. Get pumped. It's game time. Thank you guys for tuning in on all the KFAN social outlets. This will be available to watch back. And AJ Mansour, take us home, buddy.
Vikings scratch game, please.
Are you ready to play?
Yeah.
Are you ready to win?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. You need a car wash?
Yeah. No?
All right, cool. That'll be $5. Get pumped. They're back. So is your chance at $100,000.